In the vast void above, not much, if anything, has ever been found alluding to any cosmic neighbors inhabiting the many dark corners of deep space. For the many years the human species have been an early spacefaring civilization. You've just been hired for your first day at an inconspicuous observatorium somewhere in these vast forested mountains, dotted with the tall, towering, classic rotating metal-plated instruments, tirelessly looking for anything that could point to the opposite. But as you'll soon find out, even all the way out here in these woods, you're not alone, and you aren't even alone in this branch of the Milky Way galaxy. In Voices of the Void, you play as Dr. Kell, an Irish PhD graduate and new hire at the Dunkeltaler Forest National Park Array in the Swiss Alps. You're tasked with capturing and processing signals received from deep space and sending it back to your employers for analysis, as well as upkeeping the array's alpha root base, its 25 satellites, a radio tower, 4 wind turbines, and 3 transformers. Suited with full signal processing equipment, sleeping quarters, a kitchen, a full garage with an ATV, cremator for fuel, and a drone for deliveries to and from the main base of operations, the Root Alpha Base and the Dunkeltaler Array have been fitted with everything needed for an employee to habitate and work full-time. Completing your tasks awards you with points. While not real payment, these can be used to purchase a multitude of amenities and tools from your employers via a computer in your work area. The Dunkeltaler Array is owned by the research company ASO, or the Alpen Signal Observatorium, founded sometime around the 1940s to 1950s and funded by grants from a multitude of interested governments and private companies, many of which are unaware of ASO's endeavors, as a mysterious nonprofit company specializes in extreme scientific research and absolute results, not shying away from utilizing and expending human life while prioritizing minimal company spending. Sometime around the 70s, after taking interest in the Dunkeltaler Park, ASO enlisted the W. Ziegler Construction Company and its Albertson Waste Management subsidiary to construct the array's core infrastructure, a feat which ultimately tumbled both companies into bankruptcy for mysterious and, for now, unknown reasons. ASO then enlists the work of the Direct Associate Power Company for the construction of the array's wind turbines and transformers, completing the self-sufficient array. To facilitate the ability of capturing and processing deep space signals, ASO purchased hardware from the manufacturing company Stolis, who have a vested interest in the results of ASO's research in the Dunkeltaler Forest, and privately fund and supply the company whenever needed. The company's interest in ASO's research, its Latin motto "to heaven to hell," and its namesake connection to the Ars Goetia is definitely not of little importance, as I'll discuss later on. Supervising and proofing Dr. Kell's work at the array is a team of scientists we only communicate with over emails received on the company computer. At the top is Professor Leah, the main supervisor who we only get a single email from on the first day, detailing Kell's duties and basic pointers for general maintenance. Next is Dr. Bao, lead researcher. He's said to be incredibly intelligent in his field, possibly surpassing the majority if not all of his peers and subordinates. Very cold and scientific, Bao does not shy away from putting his subordinates under extreme physical and mental stress for the greater good. Bao's responsibilities are tasking Dr. Kell daily with sending out specific signals and annotating hash codes from specific satellite servers. Next are 3 of Kell's colleagues at HQ: Dr. Anna, a close and once intimate friend of Kell with an affinity for guns, Dr. Ken, an outgoing, laid-back but rational person, and Dr. Max, who has a crush on Kell. So cute. But of course, as a horror game, not everything is as it seems at the Dunkeltaler Forest Array, the ASO company, far above and down below. Long before Dunkeltaler, long before humanity, long before a habitable Earth was even a concept, the solar system was simply a quagmire of cosmic dust revolving around the faint gravitational well of a young protostar. Over time, this gravity began condensing the formless gas into a primitive formation of rocks, the successful birth of a planet. Still a miasma, and far from the Earth we know today, the formation remained a hot, aimless ball of molten rock. Then, something unforeseen happens, that scientists in the Stolis record dub the Anomaly Storm. A supposed interdimensional rift is open, and foreign, unknown debris is flown through the developing solar system. A flesh-looking asteroid, originally dubbed Theia, but now known as the Tumor, collides with the young Earth, shooting fragmentation into its atmosphere, which later forms the Moon. It's logical to believe from this point onwards, the Tumor remains deep within the Earth as it continues to form itself into a habitable planet we know today, after billions of years of cosmic evolution. Now in present times, Dunkeltaler Forest National Park has been known locally and publicly as a superstitious point of interest, with alleged curses, multiple missing people, cryptid sightings, UFOs, and mysterious structures. These, of course, are not coincidences or superstition. but rather the direct consequence of the dark forest's supposed close proximity to the tumor somewhere under the Earth's surface. During your employment in the array, you can expect to see strange lights shining through the endless formation of trees, lanky figures stalking your every move, unexplainable objects in the sky, intense hallucinations, demonic activity, and other paranormal and extraterrestrial events, all connected to the fleshy tumor. It's unknown if these anomalies are direct spawn from the tumor or are simply earthly beings attracted to it for one reason or another. Of course, something as influential and powerful as the tumor wouldn't go unnoticed on the cosmic scale, and is the reason Dunkeltaler is a prime location for mutual extraterrestrial contact. Now, if it wasn't obvious enough, Alpen Signal Observatorium and its close investor are acutely aware of the location, its history, its value, and especially its myriad dangers. Fencing off the park behind security perimeters and operating under minimal spending habits are all part of the company's scientific regime. Hidden behind the promise of a six-figure pay stub at the end of a perilous existence at the Dunkeltaler Array, ASO hides its true intentions from any and all who accept its offer for a life-changing opportunity. Sentinel species are animals who are typically more susceptible to environmental hazards compared to humans, and are often used to pose an early warning of immediate threats to human life. During the 19th and late 20th century, coal miners often utilized a caged domesticated canary to detect approaching lethal monoxide levels. Unfortunately, the canary's survival was not guaranteed, and not even expected. Dying was part of a coal mine canary's life, to aid and profit for others. Operation Canary is a designation used by ASO for the ongoings at the Dunkeltaler Array. Dr. Kellen is not the first canary operator in the Alpha Root base, and will not be the last. Something I neglected to mention before is the state of the array when Dr. Kill arrives for his first day. Looking around the Alpha Root facility, you'll find trash littering the floor, dirty walls, smashed electronics, empty food containers, and general disarray. This is the doing of the previous canary operator before Dr. Kill, Dr. D. Dr. D was a divorced, depressed alcoholic Australian astronomer, picked by ASO to operate and maintain the array, just as we are. Promised with a large paycheck and a second chance at life, D quickly becomes disillusioned and depressed after being instated as a canary. Quickly realizing his true purpose of the company is to work and die on site just to see what would happen, D would begin doing the bare minimum and become completely insubordinate to any commands from higher up. In a drunken stupor, he smashes and overturns everything he could find around the array in an attempt to ignite and burn the facility and himself into ash, freeing himself from what is essentially a living nightmare. Unfortunately, he sobers up before he can go through with it, and with a broken leg, goes missing completely. ASO never recovers D's body, but what is thought to be his Kerfer, a robotic assistant you can purchase from the company, can be found buried and intertwined with flesh and metal during a demonic event. So who knows if he could still be alive out there. During a conversation between who could be assumed to be Dr. Bao and perhaps an ASO or Stolas higher-up, a week after D's communication ceased, discussed the next possible candidate for replacement. Describing Kel as young and inexperienced, both parties conclude Kel will only last a few weeks at most, and have already prepared a pre-written obituary and cause of death for any questioning family members. Now a canary and practically sentenced to death, you have no choice but to live and continue working while anomalous activity surrounds your work and living quarters, with a few notable extraterrestrial visitors you interact with in the game's ongoing story. Array rolls are a very important part of the universe of Voices of the Void. I won't go into super long detail in this video, as you can find a huge Google Doc describing everything array roll, from anatomy to culture and even eating habits. But to keep it short, array rolls are an advanced alien species with humanoid, cat-like features we get to interact with during our stay at the array. Depending on our relationship standing with the group we meet, these aliens can be rather friendly to downright dangerous, but mostly seem to just be interested in sightseeing Earth, having picnics, interacting with humans, namely Dr. Kell, pulling practical jokes, and having a nice vacation up on a tree. How cute. But as a whole, the array species are very advanced compared to humans. Coming from a complex social society, array have access to technology like matter transmutation, matter synthesis, genetic editing, warp technology, self-cloaking, and even light gravitational manipulation, with the gravity gun being the peak of their technology, which seems a little familiar. Greys are the typical, lanky, big-headed sci-fi humanoid alien species of this universe. Perhaps being on the ASO radar for a while, the company has evidence of their existence on file. Greys are hostile, saucer-flying extraterrestrials with a more militaristic approach to foreign living beings, utilizing abducted wildlife and heavy machinery to assault the array, Dr. Kell, and the array rolls throughout the game's story mode. Lastly are Rosidals, possibly the most technologically advanced alien species present at the Dunkeltaler Forest during the game's events. Ancient mechanical beings largely made of an incredibly powerful, apparently indestructible, and perficium alloy. The instances of Rosidals we see are largely indifferent to our presence and seem to be working for their own interests, seen collecting very dangerous anomalies, running maintenance on strange landmarks within Dunkeltaler, capable of wormhole technology, and seemingly invincible. There's no real way of knowing what their true intentions are in the Dark Forest. It's also important to note the majority, not all Rosidals, are powered by mysterious life crystals, supposedly sentient quantum minerals with the ability to bring life to inanimate objects and fossils. These are procured both in the deep levels of the cave in the Dunkeltaler Forest and by Rosidals themselves, by producing and processing a liquid substance known as panacea, and is possibly the main reproductive source for this incredibly advanced species. All in all, the story behind Voices of the Void is incredibly intriguing, and I'm excited to see what comes of it after the inevitable many overhauls and expansions of an early alpha game. I can't recall the last time I've played a game quite like Voices of the Void, but be sure I'll be talking about this IP more if any new information comes to my attention or things I missed are brought up. But anyways, I've been Myriad, your extraterrestrial yapper. Play Voices of the Void, and have a good day or night. Bye bye.